So I'm Mallissa Cheplick. I am the transition coordinator at Norwin High School, which is on the west side of the state, below Pittsburgh, about 30 miles southwest of Pittsburgh. Norwin School District is, I think, second largest in Westmoreland County. We have about 1,500 students at the high school and around I think it's 150 that have IEPs, and that includes like life skills, autistic support, learning support, all of those. So my session today is about creating a work-based learning program in your school, and I'm just walking you through what we did for ours. We are now going into our third year of work-based learning, and it's been quite the journey, so I hope you'll join me with it. All right, so throughout the slides you'll see pictures. These are our kids in actual work settings throughout the community. So today we're going to look at the importance of creating work-based learning opportunities, how to create your program, including legal considerations, transportations, and securing host sites. We're going to look at a little bit of curriculum options, assessments, portfolio development, and one of the things that we really didn't see coming until it happened was implications of students with autism in your program. All right, so if you don't have a work-based learning program in your school and you want to go back and take some information to try to talk your administrators into why it is important to do this, first of all, if you listen to any of the sessions here, you'll know these answers for them or why to do this, but I just put some up here for you. There are multiple studies that say that work-based learning is the most important factor to post-secondary success in employment for students with disabilities. So right there, I think that's enough for administrators to realize this is something important. Of course, IDEA mandates that we provide transition services for students, and so better than just taking them out on some CBI trips, why not take them and give them in authentic work situations? And work-based learning prepares students with disabilities to participate within the community in which they'll likely live and work after graduation. So ours is a local work-based learning. Everything takes place within the boundaries of our district. So these businesses are getting to know our students, they're getting to know our program, and I will say that we've had, I think we're on 3 of our students now have been employed by the local businesses once we get them in there and they can see what they're capable of. They don't see their disability anymore, they see good workers. So as far as benefiting businesses, students are an asset to businesses. How many times my students go in and if they enjoy what they are doing, if it's a good fit, there's not going to be a better worker. They're willing to do whatever they can for those businesses, willing to learn. Some of our kids show up early to work because they want to be there. So it helps businesses. When we take our kids and have the job coach next to them, we are providing training that the business does not have to pay for. So it's an advantage for them to take our kids in. We have a wonderful community, a very large business community actually in Norwin, and they just love our kids, and they will do anything to help them. So it gives the community an opportunity to support our kids, and businesses are very, very willing to do that. And there's also the bonus of business owners who may want to have or welcome individuals with disabilities into their companies. Maybe they don't know how to deal with them, or they're kind of scared of what they might see. Our job coaches go in there and sort of train them too on how to deal with those individuals, give them some tips, and in the process, we're building into the business structure within the community. So It is a win-win situation for all. So here's our story. What made us develop Norwin Works? So my first year at the school, I've been there for 5 years. My first year in, I was told that I was supposed to provide work-based learning opportunity for students. And basically what that looked like was we would just work within the campus cafeterias. So I would ship the kids, put them on a little bus. The bus would take them at different cafeterias, and they would work. That didn't work. So some of our kids were found, of course the phone's always a big deal. There's like no training for them. We would just shove them out. So they were of course on their phone all the time, didn't call off. One young man decided that after he did his job cleaning the trays at the cafeteria, it'd be a good idea to take a nap on top of those trays. So I got a phone call that he was sleeping. So it kind of, I'm thinking to myself, this isn't working, like we can't do this. So the next year we decided that we would partner with the local IU, and they had a work-based learning program. Excellent program, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful job coaches, love them. The problem was, it was very expensive. Add on top of the fee that we were paying per session, the transportation costs. And by January, I had spent like over $90,000 in those fees. So I got a phone call from the superintendent, and he's like, you need to come to my office, and we need to discuss some spending. Yeah, well, that was kind of crazy. So I went in, and he, what are you doing? Like, why are we have all these transportation costs? Why are we, why? What's happening? So I explained to him, and I says, be a lot cheaper if you bought me a van and we did this. You hired me a job coach and we just did this. So he's like, all right, you put the proposal together and we'll talk about it. So I did all the math and we saved, I can't tell you how much money. So if your district is saying it's not doable, we are mandated to provide these opportunities for students, and it is way cheaper to do it in-house. So, So we can provide those opportunities in a very cost-effective manner. The van that we bought was a third of the cost for transportation for the kids. So, and it was paid for through, and I'll get into this later too, paid for through access billing. So no cost to the district. So first thing first, legalities. Like, this was the scariest part for me. Who's responsible for what? What if a kid gets hurt out in the community? Like, what does the workman's comp thing look like? What if, or who can drive the van? How does that insurance work? Is it their insurance, our insurance? So we started with, after my superintendent was on board, called the solicitor. And we had some conversations with him. So we talked about if our job coach is out and she gets hurt, she's working in an off-site location, is it that business who it's the workman's comp kind of thing covering, or is it the district? How does it apply to students too, like if a student's hurt? Permission forms, big one. There's some legal, and in further slides, I provide you our permission form. We have some legal wording in there as well, just to protect ourselves and our students. He also helped us with the liability. So I could go to the host sites and tell them, this is considered a classroom. So anything that happens in these host sites, it's not on you. It falls back to the district, and that same kind of coverage is provided through the district. So they don't have a risk involved. And then again, he helped with the school board. They had a bazillion questions, and he set their mind at ease. And then I'll talk later about some issues that arose with some parents down the road that he was able to help us with. So if you're thinking about doing this at your school, the first thing to do after you get your administration on board, really talk to the solicitor, because he has some really good ideas how to keep things where you're not going to get sued or in trouble for something. So there's our van. We bought a 15-passenger van, like I said. And what's really cool is once you start talking about this and get the buzz out into the community, people start showing up. Like we had the van was given to us really like $30,000 less or $20,000 less than what we would have paid for it, because car place in the district wanted to gift us something. So they, came out and we had some promotional pictures taken with them, and thank you to them, and they gave us a really great deal. We still had to come up with that money. So how do you do it? Well, we paid for it with access funds. You have to modify it in some way, and you have to guarantee that students with disabilities are the only people using that vehicle. And believe me, your athletic department and all your clubs, they'll ask if they can use your van, and they cannot. Access funding, if it pays for it, students with disabilities have to be using it. Students who are receiving services, I should say. Drivers must be district employees. So, and it's simple. We just have to have a copy of their license on file in our administration office, and they're able to drive. My job coach, she's about this big and 100 pounds. She drives that puppy all over the place. And she's good at it. And there are some of our teachers could take it on work-based learning as well. So like our life skills, autistic support, they go out for work-based learning, and they'll drive the van as well. Again, it's just as long as you have your license on file, you're allowed to drive the van. Let's see, we've had it for 2 years, and we just turned 5,000 miles on it. So we're gonna get some long life out of this van. And again, the district insurance covers, their rider covers your drivers. And a smart thing to do is, so we've had a couple of young men who should not be sitting next to girls in the van, had some little issues with that, so we put a camera in it, and we videotape what's happening at all times, front and back. It's protection too, if we were ever in an accident or something like that. So just a tip. Yes. Oh.
So I have 2 questions about the access.
Yes.
So the first question is, how did you modify the van?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you go about accessing access funds for the van?
Okay. So my special ed supervisor knew how to access the funding. It's the same people that you go through to get the, when you send access billing in,
Okay.
Same people that you would talk to. And then all we did was tint the windows, because we have kids that are visually impaired, and they needed tinting. That's it.
And so do you have to show that? How do you prove that modification?
I think when we ordered it, it was done at the factory or at the place on the receipt, it said.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like $150 or something crazy. And we were able to, and it was, I think $36,000, and access cut us a check.
Really?
Right? Yeah. So that's what I'm like, wow. Yeah. And how, I think one ride is like $50 or something for students to take a student back and forth to a location to work. So this paid for itself literally, well, it was free, but for all intents and purposes, but it paid for itself. 2 months of transportation, and we had 15-passenger van. It's a great deal. So, is that good?
I have a ton of questions,
Okay.
but yeah.
I'll take more later.
It's okay.
Okay. What happened? Wait a minute here. No. What happened? Of course it's trying to do an update. No. I'm sorry. Okay. It went away. What is happening? It is doing an update. That is advanced. Okay, good. It's not on my screen, but I'll take it. Okay. So, job coach. Next big, she is the most important piece, if I can say anything. She is the most important piece to me. And pretty much she has to juggle all the bowls. That's what I think of her. Like, she gets one spinning and then goes to the next. She's just, and she has ADHD, which is really great. You want one with ADHD. Just saying. So energy. This woman never sits down. Like, this is a not sit behind your desk, wait for things to happen kind of job. She is just upbeat and energetic and always thinking. Like, she has texted me 4 times while I was here, hey, do you think I should go check on this site and that site, because we're trying to get built into more sites for this year. I'm like, yeah, go for it. Communication skills. She is not afraid to go talk to anybody. And when I say any, I mean anybody. She will go up to anyone. Hey, you need any workers here? Let me tell you about my program. She carries around our brochures, carries around my business card. Let me tell you about what we do. Can I interest you in, maybe just a tour, maybe. And because of that personality and always thinking when she's out, we've had no problem getting sites online. So you need someone that's ADHD, communication. She has a great understanding of all kinds of disabilities. In the past, she had worked at several different agencies working with kids with all kinds of disabilities, so she's really great and really comfortable with whatever we throw at her. And we have, when I say work-based learning, I have students that are blind, physically disabled, and intellectually disabled. I have kids on the spectrum. I have super low functioning kids, like first grade reading level kids that are nonverbal. So we have the gamut. They all go out, they all work. She's comfortable with all of them. She's really great at creating accommodations. She can look at a kid and say, if this would work if we did it this way. And I work alongside of her for a lot of that. We have a young man who is visually impaired, physically impaired. He has an aide that goes with him all the time, but the 3 of us got together and put together I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like a dance to teach him how to vacuum. It's called the 2-step shuffle. And, we teach him, and this young man is able to vacuum like an area. So great accommodations. She needs to be flexible. So things change. We have 2-hour delays. Then what are you going to do? So she'll be calling on the places where we're supposed to be that day, changing times, changing locations, stuff like that. We have had emergencies. We had a young man, nonverbal, kids on the spectrum, have a grand mal seizure. It was a very long seizure at one of our locations. She was able to think enough to find him, clear the area, do all of the safety plan, even with 6 other students, students with disabilities with her. She's uber patient because I'm a little crazy and she puts up with me. She's very willing to drive the 15-passenger van, and she has a great sense of humor. So just some of the things, if you're going to hire a job coach, this worked for us. All right, come on. I am fighting with it again. Okay, so securing host sites. You will be surprised how easy it is to get a host site within your community. We go in there, we say we're working with students with disabilities from Norwin School District. They hear Norwin, what can I do to help? So we had really, no one has told us no. In fact, at this point, people are coming to us saying they want to open their business to us. When we first started and didn't have any, we started the buzz. So told the school board, told the administrators, told all the teachers, hey, we're going to start this program next year. Start talking about it. Let's generate some interest. So then once that kind of started, I was getting emails, we were getting phone calls about it. We started thinking, well, we can't just go to a place where they're going to clean. I think that's the first thing we think of. Let's take them and let them clean something. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to give them a broad range of of skills. So we really thought hard about what kind of skills we wanted to give these students and what locations would provide that for them. We always try to do very close to campus. We don't want the ride to take up all of the time of getting there. We want to be working, not driving. So again, we used the district boundaries to say we're only working within those boundaries, and that way we're not driving too far. I always, and so does my job coach, we leave brochures and business cards with people. You know, you'd be surprised once you start talking that to people about this, they ask you and you give them that information, and they're interested in helping. I will say corporate stores are really hard. We have a Kohl's, Walmart, and what's the other one? I forget. Anyway, right in our, like, within those boundaries, and we can't get in. Like, they have to talk to corporate, and corporate has to this and that and the other thing, and it's just not worth it. So we started with smaller, like family-owned, but still franchises. So we have Shop and Save, if you're, that's out my way, that's a grocery store. Busy Beaver, which is a hardware store. Johnston the Florist. On a side note, we're not going to work with them anymore because they're doing medical marijuana. I am not taking students to grow that. Like, yeah, we're not coming back next year. We walk in and go, oh, what are the lights for? Oh, okay, never mind. We're leaving. Salvation Army, yeah, so be careful what the florists are growing. Salvation Army Thrift Store, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Norwin Teachers Federal Credit Union, they are wonderful to our students. They do all kinds. My kids count like $15,000 when they go there, and they put them in bags and like wrap them. It's super cool. Hampton Inn and Suites Hotel. Queen of Angels School we added last year. It's a small Catholic school right down the hill from us. It actually acquired one of our school buildings. And our kids do everything, and I have pictures later. They even use the floor buffer thing, and they do like screwdrivers and drills, and they put lights. Like, it's crazy what they do with them there. And then new this year, we just secured Kenny Ross Ford, which is a big dealership right down the road from us, an equestrian center. So they are a therapeutic equestrian center. They want us to come and groom horses. Yay, we're down for that. And those horses, by the way, like little side note, the horses are trained to work with people with disabilities. So it's not like some farm that you go to. These are animals that are for that purpose. And then the big one I'm very excited about, we got a new guy in charge of our maintenance at the district, and prior to him, there was all this, the union won't let you sweep a floor thing. This guy is like, whatever you can do to help, like, I'll give you a list. So this year, we're going to be doing like dusting and garbage, and he has a list of stuff. They even have them Zambonis that they drive to clean the floors. Like, I want one of my kids on that. I'm going to work on it. But they're not having an issue with the union things anymore. So we're very excited that that is in the building, like right there to work with them. Okay, that's just my brochure. I put it in there so you have access to it in case you wanted to make one up for your thing. For your program. Just simple lists what we do, the sites that we have, how to contact us. And I love putting pictures of our kids in it because a lot of times our businesses recognize these kids. These kids are in there shopping, right? So just for your reference. Okay, so we did have a pet store come to us and say, hey, you want to come work there, work with us, bring your kids in with a job coach. We are turning them down, and here is why. Talked to the solicitor, who is concerned about animal bites because it's one of those, they wanted us to walk dogs. No. And the other thing is, what if the unimaginable happens and one of my kids does something and not good things happen to the animals? So we're not gonna do that. we did secure the hotel, but you got to be careful. So I had the job coach. So one of our students who really excelled at the hotel for whatever reason, like, I don't know, he just really liked working there. They offered him to start doing the rooms. I thought, yay, he'll learn how to make a bed, how to clean the bathroom, all of that good stuff. What we realized was they would give him a swipe card, and we were just going to let him go. And then we thought about it, and I think he walked into one room that probably he shouldn't have. It was just a real mess from the night before. So now my job coach swipes in, inspects the room, and makes sure there's nothing unsafe or gross or whatever, and then he goes in. So just a word of caution, if you do find yourselves at a hotel, lesson learned, just have the job coach go in and inspect. And we have a big, huge request from parents, it seems like, that they want their kids working in a healthcare facility of some sort. So we have some really big facilities locally that we could get to, but the problem was, number one, they wanted all of their clearances, and you know how expensive those are. Number two, they wanted them to have TB tests, which takes forever. Number three, they wanted all of their shot records. If there was the flu time, they all had to have flu shots. So like, it was such a hassle. And then we found out that even if we did all of those things, patient contact would not have happened. Like, they're not going to wheel, transport. You have to be trained to do that stuff. So I think the parents that were wanting that expected us to just go in and wheel people around. Like, one says, well, my daughter loves to hold babies. I'm like, yeah, not happening. Like, we're not doing this. So we kind of steer clear of that. Maybe down the road, maybe, I don't know. But for right now, no. Yes. Wait, we need to mic you. They're taping, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to. Okay.
I just wanted to point out, we are in a few places that require clearances, and you can get the volunteer clearances for free.
Oh, good.
So as long as they're considered volunteer and they're not getting paid, you can apply for them to be free of charge.
Good
So
deal.
just FYI.
Okay. FYI. I will put that in my notes. Okay, so here's how a day of Norwin Works looks. All right, that's one of our workers. She's a hoot. She kills me. Okay, so we have obviously a parent permission form. I'm scared to pull it up because of what this computer's doing, but it's there for you to click on if you download the PowerPoint. Basically, it has a list of things that those parents are agreeing to, including do not post on social media where we're at. We had that happen, and like an entourage comes out to take pictures of their kids working. Like, no, like we asked them not to. We're purposeful in asking that. Talk about what their attire is going to be. So we had shirts printed up with just our logo that says Norwin Student Worker. It doesn't have the name of our program because that will identify a disability within the community. So it's just Norwin Student Worker. They're like everybody else working. And then this year we've changed. We used to just let them wear whatever on their bottom. We are requiring khaki pants this year. I sent out on the last day of school that notification to parents so that as they're shopping for school clothes, so give them some warning. And we also have the Salvation Army said that if it's a financial burden, they would donate some khaki pants for our kids. So it's not hard to get those things. I'm trying to think what else is on that form. Then there's a legalese piece in there that's a part of a protection for us as well. We purchased video-based curriculum. Yay, good stuff. And I brought just a sample of it. It's up here in the box. This James Stanfield, I don't know if anyone has heard of it, but they have like a whole slew of video-based instruction. And why I like it is because when I talk, my kids they don't want to hear me. They turn it off. We watch a video. They're like all about it. So that one in particular is on hygiene. There's a boys section and there's a girls section, and we separate out. They go through everything. Like, if girls, you know what I mean. They talk about that stuff. And talk about how to be clean, because that was one of the things. Some of our students didn't wear deodorant and didn't brush their hair, and I could not take them into the community like that. So we spend some time with a video-based curriculum a couple of times a year. We set them up at the beginning of the year, we do a little refresher in the middle, and then do some more work towards the end. Again, we spend that first week of each semester talking about our expectations, watching our video, talking about girls that have long hair, how it needs to be pulled back. We all go and get in the van, we go to each location and introduce the students to the supervisors. We have a tour so that the students know what they're walking into. It kind of eases their anxiety, and just gets them, in the flow to get ready for what's coming. Again, we assign shirts to each student. And I brought another in that black binder up there, is a workplace readiness assessment. I don't do this with all of my students, but there are some students that come in and we think they're like kind of borderline, like, could they use a job coach, or are they like independent enough to go out and work on their own? Those students will do this assessment on, and it looks at just your attitude towards work and just your readiness in general to know how to work in a team setting, attitudes towards supervisors and taking instruction from people. So we don't use it with everybody, but I brought it if you guys wanted to look at it. It's pretty cool. It's another James Stanfield thing, and it's all that's paper-based, that you give an individual, like you proctor to one individual at a time. So we will do that with some of the students who we think are probably going to be short-lived in the program, and they're kind of ready to fly the coop. And then, like I said, we take a tour the first week. So daily operations. So we have a question. Just a second. She has the mic. Sorry.
It's not a question, it's just a comment again. Sure. To be helpful, you could also use ONET for career readiness assessments, which are free. If you haven't tapped into that one.
Those are, I do, but those are interest-based assessment. I don't know if they have career readiness per se. Do they? I don't know. I know I use it for the interest inventories.
And then, Mallissa, do you partner with us, Westmoreland?
With what?
Westmoreland County Community College.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you did.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can also help you because we have Focus too. So if you're bringing...
Trio?
No, I'm not Trio. I'm Career Connections.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But yes, we can help you. And if you are linking with the Trio team, they all know how to use Focus too. If you're bringing your students to us on a tour, then just let whoever's organising that for you, if that's our admissions team, because they can as well. Or you can call me, or if you're going to ATC, talk to Diane, and we can get your students to do Focus 2 assessments, because there's career readiness in there for you, and then
Awesome.
that won't cost you.
Oh, I'm learning all kinds of new stuff. Thank you. Yeah, it's great stuff. Oh, yeah.
I figured why the microphone was here,
Sure.
I'd steal it. Just a quick question. Are these students paid?
Yes and no. Well,
Can you elaborate?
no. Okay. So these students that come out in Norwin Works that are beside a job coach are not paid. However, once they graduate, we have paid positions that we push kids into, a supported paid position and then an unsupported.
Okay, because I currently run a program now. It's about 2.5 hours northeast of here. And our school solicitor told me that we had to have different permission slips and different programs altogether, with the difference of work-based, you can't even use those words, with community-based vocational training is our second program where they're not paid. So I just wanted to make sure, everybody was aware of this, that if anybody's at the up and coming stages kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, the solicitors are helpful, and it does depend, I guess, on what you call it, and
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
because really, and then our IU 19, which we're in, was very helpful as far as,
setting it all up.
deciphering the difference and that kind of thing to make
Right.
sure that, because if you're calling it work and, those
Right.
kind of things, because I'm even looking at the shirts, we were told that that's actually illegal to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if they're in that company, they should be wearing what every other employee is wearing.
Well, but they're not employees of.
Right. No, that's why.
Right, that's how we got
That's
away
why
with
I
that.
had to ask if they were or not.
Yeah, no, they're not paid in this
Thank you.
program. Yeah. Okay, so the way it's set up during the day, so we have, and I know all of your districts do too, the CWCTE, the tech schools. So like our typical day for our kids that are in tech, they have 4 classes in the morning or 4 in the afternoon, and then the classes they go to tech. So we set it up so that our schedule matches those. So they're still getting their core classes, and then all of their electives are used through our work-based learning program. It's easier in scheduling too. So we know that either they're in the morning session or the afternoon session, and because the school's already set up to accommodate those kids that are leaving for tech, they can scoot into those classes. So we have 8:30 to 10:30 or 11:30 to 1:30 sessions. We go into the community Monday through Thursday, and Fridays. Last year, I don't know about this year, we had PETS group services where a provider came in and worked on the pre-employment transition stuff. I don't know, nobody knows what that's going to look like this year with the group services. I'm waiting to see. I'm hoping that we get somebody back for that, but if not, we'll still not be rowing out on Fridays. We are going to use that as a catch-up day. Because we share the van within the department, our life skills and autistic support classes will sometimes use the van on Fridays for CBI trips. So that leaves our work-based learning kids kind of out of a ride, so they just hang back. And like I said, we usually do the pre-employment transition stuff. But we also do laundry, so they never take their uniforms home. We keep them at the school, wash them on Fridays. They wash them on Fridays. I don't know how that's going to work with the khaki pants. I haven't thought that through yet. But the shirts for sure, we wash on Fridays. We're adding a foods unit sort of this year. One Friday a month, we're going to do a grocery shop / cooking lesson with the kids, and portfolio development. And we'll try to click on that later. This computer's still doing weird things. But I did it through Google Slides. It's a portfolio. And there's places for the kids where the kids are prompted to put pictures of different things, and they narrate them. So my favorite thing is this is what I'm good at. And one of the things we do too with the job coach, he'll videotape them doing work, so they put those in their portfolio. So they work on those throughout the time that they are with us, so that hopefully at the end of that, because it's a Google Doc, they'll be able electronically to share that with employers. They're going to put their resume in there eventually, and those sorts of things. So we will work on that on Fridays. So we have the way the kids check into work or log in, we have a Google form that they click on to say they're leaving the building and that they come back to the building. That serves 2 purposes. 1, to get them used to clocking in and clocking out. But 2, more importantly, the safety feature of that doc can be accessed by my administration. So if, God forbid, there's a fire, a whatever, alarm, and we're evacuating and we're needing to count kids, we have record of this is the list of kids that checked out at this time or checked back in. So that Google form is really important for record keeping, more for, I think, admin than for our kids, but it's just it's something we use. What else? So the job coach, again, she drives them to each location. She gives them their jobs, teaches them their jobs, and then oversees what they're doing. And she will do a evaluation quarterly on the kids. We are very specific in our evaluations too. So I tell her specifically, you don't just say Johnny's doing really great at everything. Johnny's not really great at everything. And it, when we're honest like that, when Johnny becomes really great at everything, we know he's ready to go. He's ready to move on to the paid position. So I think that's one of the biggest things, like don't sugarcoat it, just say what it is. Sometimes parents don't like that, but I think it's fair to be honest with them. And then we have a celebration every year. The Wednesday before we leave for Thanksgiving break, we have a pancake party. I make a bunch of pancakes and syrup, and we just hang out, and I thank them for their hard work. And at the end of the year, we have a party as well for them, and they really look forward to it. It's just something fun that we do. And then be sure to say thank you to your businesses. Like we had this year, we invited all of our businesses in. There was not one that said they couldn't come. They all showed up. We had it at 8 o'clock in the morning though, because that was kind of before their day got started. We hosted a nice breakfast. The kids served them, thanked them. We made certificates that said, you're pretty awesome. Thank you for doing this for us. We acknowledged them publicly. We had the administration come over, shake their hand, thank them. We took pictures. There's a picture of all my host business partners. And let me see what else. Yeah, we just acknowledge them publicly and thank them so that they're really doing a really cool thing. Okay. So some lesson learned, paraprofessionals. So just because I have a job coach coming out with the kids does not eliminate the need for the paraprofessional, especially for students with an IEP that says they need a full-time para with them. So those paras do come out. Sometimes when there are many adults with many students who need a lot of direction, it gets into the Johnny do this 15 times because everyone's correcting Johnny. So we had to have a training and a monthly check-in where we assigned kind of specific roles to the paras, and it was just better for everyone the whole way around, for everyone to know what they were responsible for. And to explain the chain of commands. I had some of them come back and would go maybe directly to the student's primary teacher and give a report about what happened at work-based learning. Well, I need to know. I don't go out with them, by the way. I'm back. I also run the in-school suspension room. So I'm caught between two worlds. It's crazy. But anyway, so when my job coach takes them out and brings them back, I need to know what's going on, not somebody else. So we had to kind of curtail some of that. But what I did do for them is I created a Google Classroom where I uploaded copies of IEPs for the students that they would be taking out so that they can access those. And the only people allowed in that Google Classroom are the paras in that class, with those students. So it's not for everyone to access, but it's just quick. They can have it on their phone then if they need any information. We have a monthly check-in now where they tell us what's happening and we figure out how to fix things if they need fixed or how to improve them. Some of them saw some needs in different areas we never even thought of, and we address that. So it's really important when you have so many adults with so many kids that are disabled to kind of have some cohesiveness in the group. So students on the spectrum, this was fun and I never saw this coming. I guess I just wasn't thinking. I have a daughter on the spectrum, but I wasn't thinking about in the workplace what that would look like. So what we didn't, so you figure you have kind of the life skills kids that are kind of, little, their ID, but you can teach them repetition and they learn. And so we get our kids on the spectrum out there and they can still learn that, but then the lights are driving them nuts and they're starting to flap or they're sitting in the corner rocking. There were a bunch of sensory things that we didn't anticipate, too much clutter, too many people. So be mindful of that. We actually had to get a separate job coach one year when I was heavy with autism, kids with autism, to come in and just deal with those behaviors. The kids didn't know what to do with themselves. I had a 19-year-old laying on the floor having a temper tantrum at a store, like right in the store. So because she was just too much sensory, like she couldn't take the lights and the color and the. So be mindful of that when you go out or you have kids on the spectrum. What are their sensory needs? Like, what does that look like? Do the lights drive them nuts? Do sounds? Like, some of our kids have to wear headphones because they just don't like the sound or the smells of where they're going. Like, we work at a bakery inside the Shop and Save, and some of the kids don't like that. I don't know why. I mean, who doesn't like cake? But anyway. Considerations on how to de-escalate a kid that's like tantruming on the floor, like that's a big deal. So, you got to figure out, how do we do this without someone taping it and putting it on Facebook? Look what the Norwin teachers are doing to their kids. So worry about that. Setting the bar high for those students too. Like, what I have found out with kids on the spectrum, it seems like we don't expect a whole lot out of them because of their behaviors. And once they kind of get past that, I'm amazed at how they do soar. We really, one young lady went from having a full-time PCA, working with us for 2 semesters. She has no need for a PCA anymore. And she couldn't even, she didn't even know how to wipe a table. And now she's like doing the jobs by herself, requesting to do them by herself, and doing an impeccable job independently, knows what she's doing. So, like, expect more from those kids. Take the opportunity with those kids for social skills work. One young man loved food, and we would go to the hotel, and they would have this spread out for conference like we're having. He would go, and he would just like literally be over top of the food, just smelling everything, and and I'm like, oh my gosh. So we would have to pull him and like explicitly explain, we don't do this. Like, this is, and it took quite a few times of explaining why you don't do this, to where he's like, you can see him actually like holding, he wants to so bad, but he learned, but like that would not fly in a job. You can't do that stuff. So they make it interesting. And then checklists and task analysis. They're key for our kids that need to know, what to do next. The alternative is they just stand there and wait for someone to tell them what to do next, and we've all seen that. So kids on the spectrum are very different than your typical life skills ID kind of population out in the community. It's interesting, you'll see. Parents. The parents, they're so great. So discourage them from social media. Like, honest to God, I had an entourage one day show up at Shop and Save, and they're taking pictures, and look at her and all her friends. I don't want that posted online. I don't want people, I feel like if there's somebody out there looking for a group that is easily, taken advantage of, they're going to see that and show up. The predators show up. So I don't want that. And we've had to have conversations with parents about that. Again, no, please don't show up. We address our work-based learning as a classroom experience. It's just the classroom is in the community. You don't get to come to the high school and sit in on your kids' class. You don't get to come to the work-based learning and sit in and watch them work. Just not happening. We had some parents that say, well, Johnny can be part of work-based learning, but he is never to wash a table, he is never to take out a trash. Then Johnny can't be part of it, because guess what? We all start washing the tables and taking out the trash. Like, you need those basic skills. That's not what, my bar is not set at Johnny is just going to flip burgers for the rest of his life. But Johnny needs to know how. If the manager says, hey, that table needs cleaned off real quick, can you leave this post and go do that? He needs to know how to do that. So really kind of push back a little bit when parents want to set the parameters of what their kid can learn and not learn. We've had some difficulty with that. They think that we're just pushing their kids out to do menial labor, and we are not. We often send our parents videos of our kids doing a good job. The young lady on the left, when she was in 9th grade, she's a senior in this picture, but when she was in 9th grade, she would have temper tantrums so bad that we would have to clear classrooms. And now she works with us, and she's phenomenal. Well, she always wanted to work a cash register. So, lovely woman at the Shop and Save said, "Come on, I'll show you how." And she is so proud of herself. And there she is in taking money and talking to the customer. And we videotaped it and we sent it home. You would have thought we gave those parents $1 million. They were so excited. So send these things home. These are huge deals. She was tantruming 3 years ago, and now she's working. And they want to hire her, but she's not ready yet. And then be concise in your evaluations. Then we had a problem with tips. Somebody wanted to give our kids tips. They see them working, especially the kids that are very easily identified, like the Downs kids. They're easily identified, and they want to give tips all the time. We don't accept them. Because it just turns into something. This is an unpaid experience. We have wording in our permission forms that it's unpaid, and to let one kid get some money when the rest are not, we kind of put a curve to that. So if that happens, it's just not, no, it's just easier to not. In fact, I will say too, real quick, a parent got mad that we didn't accept the tip, posted it to social media. There was a firestorm, people calling the school, how dare us rob this girl of all of her money. It was 75 cents. And so we had to have it got so bad that we did have to have the solicitor reach out to the family and say, you need to stop, enough of this. So don't open that can of worms. So I'm lucky in that Norwin is this huge, vibrant business community where I have a plethora of businesses, and that may not be, you may be a little more rural and not have that opportunity. So I just have a list of some things that you can do within your own district that may not have that business space. So obviously we all do the coffee shop. Sometimes my kids, we will do a little business. If we want something that we want to buy something, we'll do make homemade dog bones and sell them to the teachers. We don't do this one. Make and sell greeting cards. I have one student who just has the most dry sense of humor in the whole wide world. He's hysterical, hysterical. And I'm like, you need to write up some sayings, and then we need to make cards. But we haven't done that yet. But that's an idea for some of you. A car wash where teachers pay you and your students wash and detail their car while they're at work. Custodial staff, obviously, they have so much work to do. They want us to weed. Just go to your custodial staff. There'll be plenty for you to do there. We also work in the office at the school. We deliver mail, shred. One young lady started answering phones and directing calls. Our athletic department is another big one. They have so much work to do. They're like a district within themselves. 5 minutes, sorry. Okay, I'll go fast. Athletic department, elementary schools, help in the office, make copies, teach the kids how to laminate, teach the kids how to make those letters on that pressy thing. Library, dust shelves, restock, those sorts of things. Any questions? Sorry, trying to get it all in. I talk too much, sorry.
So a couple questions. So who participates? What age, what grade level are you?
We have 9th through age 21. So it really depends on where the kid is, what their goals are. Most of our life skills kids by 11th grade are with us. And that's the same for our autistic support, our more severe autistic support kids. They are it's just this is where you go next. But then we do have quite a handful of learning support kids. I have one that's an emotional support kid that's coming out with us next year. He's in 9th grade. So it's across the board. It's everybody. It's just a need.
And then when do you, so this is throughout the school year, so when do the kids start working? Is it, if you
Immediate.
start in August, are you going?
Yeah. We take the first week of school and acclimate them to everything, and then we start working the second week. And we work, and then we do the same thing the second semester for any new kids that may be coming on board, and we work up until the last day of school.
And then how many go out at a time?
Anywhere between, sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 12. It just depends.
All to the same place,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
including paras.
yeah.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why like the school that took us on, it's wonderful because there's several floors and we separate out. Now the places that can only hold small amount of kids, we'll only take a small amount of kids because sometimes like when we have such a large population of the autistic support and the life skills support, sometimes those teachers will keep some of those kids back to do like progress monitoring or whatever to get caught up. So we have smaller, it's real fluid like that. So we'll have smaller groups sometimes that will go to smaller venues. Okay. And then I forgot to mention too, so once these kids get through this, our cafeterias will pay them to work. And then they have all those little moms in the cafeteria that kind of make it like supported work. So they kind of monitor them for us. Not that they even know that they're doing it, but it's wonderful because the kids already know what they're doing when they get there. Those cafeteria ladies kind of encourage them on their way. And once they're successful in that, we encourage them to go get a job, McDonald's or a whatever within the community, and they move into our paid work study where I monitor and I go and I speak to their supervisors and make sure they're doing well. Yes.
I just won this past year. I work mainly with children diagnosed on the autism spectrum. I actually partnered with 10,000 Villages.
Oh, yeah.
Is actually run entirely on volunteers.
It is.
So it's a very good environment for them to learn some of those soft skills without being overwhelmed because you don't see a lot of foot traffic come in there, and we can reflect a lot, and they also learn a lot of other skills like stocking shelves and moving, being able to read diagrams and stuff because it's such a small environment. But because they love having us there, and we've done the library too. Shlo here actually created an entire program for us. So.
Yeah. Be surprised what the community is willing to do. And then if you download and I don't have time for this, but here's my contact. If anybody has, for real, okay. If anyone has any questions, you can reach out to me. My email is up there. And then on the next slide, there's a link to a video of my kids working in the community. If you want to watch it, it's linked there as well. So there you go.